Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard. Across from me is the doctor himself.
I lived, bitch.
You lived, bitch?
Well, people might have been worried about me.
Oh, yeah. You were fine, though, I thought.
Well, but, you know.
Because everyone made it out like you were not okay, but it was just more me.
I just want everyone to know that I'm okay.
Oh, okay.
Importantly, I'm okay.
Okay. Anyways, let's go down with the episode.
Yeah. Do you want to finish the intro?
I'm fine. I listened to a double this week to really get details into what actually happened to me. But I tried to get life to take me out of this podcast, and that didn't work.
Yeah, no. I was just there hammering on your chest, being like, live, damn it! Record!
Banter!
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to. What?
Each week.
Yeah, I'll get there.
I don't know. It's been a week, man.
It's been each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world.
Each week when we talk
about weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Yeah, this week's theme is Chicken to China. The
Chinese chicken. Is it bad?
I don't know.
I still don't know. It's a thing that I've felt uncomfortable since it came out.
Yeah, but you just go like, all he says is Chinese chicken.
It's Chicken to China is the only part that's...
But are you not allowed to like go like Fufa de France?
Yeah, but it's different when it's Chicken to China.
I guess. Because like Chickada isn't like...
No, I know, but the thing that people do is not far from Chickada.
I understand what you're saying.
And also, you never...
But I also think I'm going to dig my
I was going to say,
in.
I'm like, you never want to be the person who's defending racism.
No, do you know what? I think everyone just needs to lighten up.
Yeah, this fucking woke culture, the woke mafia coming.
The mind virus.
Yeah. And with that, we're talking about radioactivity.
Oh, yeah. And I've got a bomb to drop.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Finally, his real opinions come out.
Yeah, I've waited till now. I waited till you almost died, and then I was like, no, like, I really put things in perspective. I got to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm here.
How I feel about them.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Yeah, it's not good. It's one of my... Did you watch Ronnie Chang's comedy special?
I did.
You didn't like it?
I think it's fine.
I just like the part...
I didn't not like it. He's not my favorite.
I just really liked when he tried to start a race war.
Yeah. Sorry.
Everyone named the worst race. I do really.
That is pretty funny.
And then he's like, come on, cancel me. I fucking dare you. I'll come back as a hero in my country. Very funny.
Yeah, that's true. That is a good bit.
Yeah, some radioactive content.
Baby.
Radioactive.
A really cool song by a band that everyone loves.
Absolutely.
I feel like Imagine Dragons is like the next generation's Nickelback, where they get shit on all the time, and then it's going to come like 10 years later. People are going to be like, yeah, I listen to Imagine Dragons. Not us, we're too old.
No,
but that's like us with Nickelback. We go, Nickelback's shitty or whatever, then but we still turn it up. It's like, this is how you remind me.
But I don't know if people were making fun of Imagine Dragons when they came out.
Were they not?
Not like the way
that's
Nickelback
all
got
I've
it.
been doing.
Well, yeah, but like
Imagine Dragons is the most laughable music I've ever heard in my life.
It's like
they make Theory of a Dead Man sound like Genesis.
Wow, what a fucking drop.
I don't even know what that means.
And we're talking about Peter Gabriel.
Oh, yeah, the good Genesis. Yeah.
What? Radioactive. Do you remember that TV show Radioactive that was on YTV?
Only like
it's like a radio show.
You're triggering something, but I don't know that I watched it.
Yeah.
I probably just remember there being like
it's like a high school radio show.
Yeah.
Get some old CanCon for you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, we're talking about like radioactive powers and characters and
my skin. Oh.
Yeah, well, I thought this you had a bunch of tests and stuff.
Oh, and I had an MRI and 2 CAT scans.
Yeah, so
maybe I'm radioactive.
Maybe your metagene's activated.
Oh my god, maybe.
Hopefully at least one of your genes is working.
I mean, these ones aren't.
No, I mean no. Thank you for presenting.
The hole in my pants.
Yeah. I also love how every time there's a hole in your pants, you go like, oh my god, my pants split. Who could have guessed?
It's because I wear the pants for
It's because
years.
I keep deliberately... Well, yeah, I know you wear them for years because you clearly bought them when you were a different size.
Also because they're from Blue Notes.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah, I got these 12 years ago at an outlet.
I think I must have made this statement before the podcast, but a thing that I'm actually legitimately always afraid of is like, I remember when I was a kid and my parents' friends, there would be some who were like still stuck in like the 80s who were dressed and still like teasing their hair and wearing like dark makeup.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm always like, I'm sure that was really cool at one point,
for
right?
a minute, yeah.
But they never let go. And I'm always like, what thing am I not like?
Right.
And I'm like, skinny jeans might be the thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the problem is like I just can't let go.
It's fair.
There's also not a lot of great guy stuff.
But also, like, the alternatives, not gonna, like, I mean, I don't wear skinny jeans, but you still like kind of like fitted.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I don't love just a straight leg.
No, it literally makes me look like a box. Like
it looks like I'm trying to shoplift.
Yeah, truly. And so I'm always really challenged by that.
Yeah.
But radioactive.
No, we're talking about jeans this week.
The meta jeans. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. But no, we actually have a bunch of questions, so we should probably get
sorry. Yeah, sorry. It's been a while. I just thought maybe you'd want to talk.
Save it for the double.
Yeah, you got to pay.
If you want to hear us talk.
Really, I mean, it is a relatively real week.
We
extend Personal Confessions Month because of last week's medical interventions.
Yeah. Weird way to say that, but
no,
yeah.
That's exactly how I wanted to say
it. But yes, it's more, it's personal.
Confessions
Month.
Baby.
Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
This is good, right? We're back.
Yeah. You said Facebook. It's like the Manchurian Candidate. It's fucking
Freight car.
right back into the song.
Ryan Putney asks, does any radiation have any effects on Superman? Like radiation from a nuclear explosion? We saw what a nuke can do to him in BVS, but what about in comics?
Yeah, I mean, Superman's whole deal is radiation, right? It's
what's the deal with Superman?
You know, the thing to remember here is that radiation is more than just like atomic decay, right? It's not just like uranium going crazy or something like that. Radiation is just like any kind of wave form. So the entire electromagnetic spectrum is in there. For Superman, specific chunks of that do different things. Earth's yellow sun, he absorbs that radiation, and that gives him his Kryptonian powers.
These kids these days, they're so electromagnetic fluid. They're all over the spectrum.
Wow. It's like science alt-right.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. You said it's all over the spectrum, and that's just all I can
do. But, you know, like red solar radiation, even on Earth, will nullify his powers.
Sure, yeah.
Kryptonite is more kind of like chemically radioactive, like actually like expelling like electrons and stuff like that. Like it's unstable in the way that something like uranium or plutonium or whatever is. That obviously has an effect on Superman. That radiation affects him. On the nuke front, you're right. In BVS, we see he gets hit by a nuke in space, and then we kind of see him, and he's a little more skeletal in that, right? Until the sun hits him, and he kind of rejuvenates. That is like, because as is Snyder's way, that is like so close to panel for panel what happens in The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
He's on the ground in that comic, not in space or whatever. But the nuclear energy like saps. It takes all of his internal reserve of energy to like keep his body alive. And in that book, when he lands, he actually starts leaching solar energy out of like the things around him. Not even just the sun, but like plants die, things die in that as he kind of reforms himself. In the New 52, like I know that Dark Knight Returns isn't necessarily continuity. In the New 52, in Superman Wonder Woman, in an issue of that, they use Superman's they team up. I can't remember totally what was happening, but something with Zod and stuff like that. And they had to basically like rip open the Phantom Zone to get them back in it. And Superman uses his microscopic vision, and he's holding Wonder Woman's sword with her, because her sword is kind of like magic, like perfectly sharp and stuff like that. And with his microscopic vision, they split an atom.
Jesus.
And he like kind of wraps around her to protect her from the blast. And when they come to, he's all like a skeleton, like Crypt Keeper kind of looking. He's like, we got to get out of here. I'm too weak now. So like nukes do hurt Superman. They have an effect on him. It's pretty easy for him to come back from. He just needs to be in the sunlight. But yeah, his body does process different kinds of radiation. Different things do stuff to him. So he's not like immune to anything. Like he could walk into just a nuclear reactor, though. That kind of like a uranium thing or whatever, that doesn't do anything to him. But those kind of almost more benign radiations, they do quite a bit to Superman's body.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That also not how you can't split an atom no matter how sharp the knife is, because otherwise she'd be doing it all the time, because everything's made of atoms.
Well, yeah, but most of it is empty space. It'd be hard to actually hit the nucleus of an atom.
But you feel like if it was perfectly, at some point it would have happened already.
Sorry, this is the gripe here.
Yeah, no.
We're this far into a comic book podcast, and this is the gripe.
You know what? I'm going to say it. I don't think comic books are real.
They're not very realistic at all.
Yeah, no.
Who the hell's writing these things?
This sounds like science fiction.
Oh my God. I thought I was reading science nonfiction.
I'd like to call it science fact.
Oh. Huh. Interesting.
I always hate that they call it nonfiction, because I'm just like, come up with a better name.
Well, I guess, but yeah, the distinction is that they can't say it's fact.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's opinion.
Yeah. So it's
just
not made up,
like creative.
Yeah,
it's just like that's really what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's like someone had some creativity, and over here,
they
nope.
Like, that's
funny. A really good point, though. That's a good bit. That's some stand-up.
Hey there, I'm back.
I like it.
Our next question, we're leaving Facebook and heading over to Threads.
The Threads.
Of course.
The Threads.
What was the song we were singing the other day? Yes.
Sorry, what?
This song, I think it was on Ghostfacers, because we were doing him, and then you were talking about the other British accent that you could do, and then we were singing songs by it was
Michael Caine.
Yeah, but we were doing like ACD. That's what it was.
Oh no, it was Guns N' Roses.
That's what it was.
Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. And then you wanted me to go no, knees. No, knees.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah, that's what that was, yeah.
From Cryptomite, they ask, just rewatch Superman versus Batman, Public Enemies, or Superman / Batman, Public Enemies.
No, I think the movie, I can't remember if the movie is with a slash or a verse. No, it would be slash. They're not verses, they're a team in that.
Yeah,
you're right.
Superman / Batman, Public Enemies.
Yeah.
And both Captain Atom and Major Force played a major part. I understand the surface level aspects, but how do their radioactive powers work?
Right. So Captain Atom and Major Force are both essentially the same type of being. They're basically living energy inside a containment suit.
Okay.
So Captain Nathaniel Atom...
Gotta love those great names.
Basically becomes part of an experiment where like a nuke is dropped on him and he's inside like an alien thing made of this alien metal. And he disappears. And they go like, oh, okay, well, that experiment didn't go great. And he
weird, because we named him Captain Atom.
But he pops back into the timeline later.
Sure. As
this living energy being, as Captain Atom.
Yeah.
Which, thank God that was his name.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise, who knows what would happen.
Yeah. Later on, when Captain Atom...
seen what happened to Captain Shitstain.
Yeah. Captain Shitstain crawled through a mile of
Andy Dufresne.
Yeah, when he goes off superheroing in that, then the government, General Eiling or whoever, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Go, what if we did this with like a crazier, more violent person who might listen to us?
Oh, they literally did the same thing.
It's basically, but it's like Carnage style. They go like, what if we did it with a crazy serial killer?
Yeah.
And so they pick Clifford Zmek.
Wow.
And the proportions of the experiment are different. Like, I think Major Force, it was like he has more of the containment suit, like more of the alien metal.
Because they're like, maybe he disappeared because
There's something like they changed the experiment slightly, but he comes back as Major Force. And briefly, Major Force was like at least able to hide that he was crazy, pretend that there was some sort of kind of altruism or whatever there. But Major Force ends up being like a huge villain. He's the one that crams Kyle Rayner's girlfriend into that fridge.
Oh, that's right. How did he do it? Did you think he used some Major Force?
Oh no. Oh no. He actually didn't have a name before that.
God, whoever did this used some Major Force.
Yeah. Man, he really smacked this up. We got to come up with a different name.
Man, I miss doing this.
Yeah, Clifford made a big red mess.
Someone say a Clifford big mess. Me, Sam Winchester.
So essentially, Captain Atom and Major Force are both the same type of being. In terms of having radiation, or like how their powers relate to radiation, they're living energy, and they have a certain amount of like control and manipulation of energies.
Sure.
They can shoot blasts. And
can they develop like matter? Like, can they create?
Well, their powers are more quantum in nature. I don't know that every comic has always like fully explored that, but part of the issue with Captain Atom now is that they kind of know that that's in there, and it's really hard to make a real superhero-y Captain Atom that doesn't just become some sort of distant Dr. Manhattan type.
But yeah,
I think that's part of the reason that Captain Atom's been a tough nut to crack. But so their powers operate on more of a quantum level, but it's a lot of energy blast. They can absorb radiation. They can redirect it. In Justice League Unlimited, in the cartoon, Captain Atom was able to make red sun energy to fight Superman.
Oh, wow.
All of these things are sort of within the rough realm of possibility for both Captain Atom and Major Force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, with that, let's go to the next question from J Video.
Good energy. Keep that up. Jesus.
I'm sorry, I got out of the
I thought you didn't die.
I'm dying over here.
Nice suit. Does it come with a free bowl of soup?
Take my wife, please.
Please.
J Video 13, who asks, as a human, hey, how long do I have to be exposed to kryptonite to get cancer?
Yeah, I mean, tricky question.
It's still crazy.
It happened to Luthor. That's the big one, like in a storyline.
Yes.
Is that it happened to Luthor.
Okay.
The way they say it is that it's for years Luthor had worn a kryptonite ring, and that eventually gave him cancer.
Yeah.
So it was the continued, constant, ongoing exposure. But that was a small piece of kryptonite, but for years. But then you look at someone like Metallo, who, at least for a bit, had some bionic component in a metal body.
Yeah.
And he's kryptonite powered.
Interesting.
That didn't, you never talk about, Metallo having brain cancer. Metallo's had a few different versions and stuff, but the versions that still had human components, that's never part of it. Superman gets infected with kryptonite all the time, and then he, heals and recovers, but there doesn't seem to be any latent radiation he gives off. Lois doesn't seem to have any, we don't do the Spider-Man thing, but it's also Lex, there's people that are around Lex all the time too.
Yeah.
Mercy Graves, or, there's not as far as I remember, in that Lex storyline, there weren't also a bunch of LexCorp scientists who were working more closely with kryptonite who got cancer.
Yeah.
As far as I remember, I don't think that was like part of it. It was just Lex.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So there is technically a canon reason for it. Can't remember who brings it up, but eventually a type of kryptonite is made that's called slow kryptonite. And slow kryptonite, the idea is that like the radiation waves are longer.
Okay.
And so part of it was that most kryptonite is fast kryptonite. And so the intense radiation waves only affect Kryptonians because their bodies process all of these radiations and stuff.
Sure.
They metabolize differently. So for humans, they don't affect it. But slow kryptonite would affect humans because it operates on a different wavelength.
Sure.
We're all just throwing around science gobbledygook here, but there is technically a canon explanation for that. Now, how does that explain the Lex cancer thing? Maybe he just blamed the kryptonite and it wasn't written.
Sure,
I don't really know. But theoretically, there is a reason why kryptonite is so has such an effect on Kryptonians and a relatively little effect on humans. But that's not to say that kryptonite doesn't affect other things. Like types of kryptonite are different. Is it white kryptonite or white kryptonite? I think kills plants of any variety, not just Kryptonian. So clearly that is, I guess, more of a slow kryptonite. Or maybe because plants metabolize sunlight, maybe it is a fast kryptonite. It's bad for plants.
Kryptonite is just fucking like mobile apps now. There's a kryptonite for that.
Yeah. That's a good metaphor.
It's like a modern take.
That was really, yeah. What's more modern than being, it's like apps.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but I don't say it's like apps around you because you got too excited.
Fuck. That's good.
Thank you. I redeem myself.
I'm also hungry now.
Yeah, I know. Fuck me too.
I only had soup for dinner.
I know you did.
Good soup, though.
Oh,
good soup.
Good soup. I had crabs.
Yeah, we're young. We know the good soup thing.
Yeah, I had crab stuffed sole.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Nice. Your body barely had soul stuffed in it.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
All right, let's move on. We're leaving Threads and heading over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First question comes from Jem Jinkies, who asks, why is it that radiation seems to love to teleport people to other Earths? Kingdom Come Superman has been sent to main continuity, and Captain Atom has been sent to the Wildstorm universe, both due to some kind of nuclear event. Is this odd phenomenon ever explained in the universe?
Yeah, it's true. There are a couple of these moments that happen. Like the Kingdom Come one is that, like, in Kingdom Come, in the story,
Is that called prima nocta?
Easy.
It's just another name for it.
Easy. Yeah, I'm instituting Kingdom Come. No, that's when at the stroke of midnight, everyone
fucks.
Man, if I call it come a lot.
That's good. That's a good one. I like that.
When you have like a never mind.
Should have stopped when you were
Too clunky of a joke.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
What was the question? Oh, right. So in Kingdom Come, in that story, there is a nuke, and Captain Marvel goes, flies up to stop it, and yells Shazam. It explodes and dies, and that nuke goes off. And later in JSA or Justice Society, whatever it was titled at the time, Jeff Johns wrote a story that saw Kingdom Come Superman in that exact moment from Kingdom Come. That nuke explosion teleports him to the Prime Earth. And so Kingdom Come Superman was part of the Justice Society.
Oh, that's right. I do remember talking about that when it happened. Because it's like in between two issues or something, basically.
Well, it's in between like 2 panels
That's
of
what it
Kingdom
is.
Come.
Yeah,
but he's
yeah.
in like 12, 14
Sure,
issues of
yeah,
Justice
yeah,
Society
yeah.
or something. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But then, he returns to that moment in the book. So,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't mess anything up there or whatever. But
I do remember talking about that.
which is neat in its own way. But yeah, that's definitely like that sense in there. Captain Atom definitely has had an explosion and woken up in a different universe kind of thing. Those things happen. I think the idea of it, specifically with both of those characters, is that when you start messing with things at the quantum level, you're probably futzing with the fabric of reality a little bit, right? That if there was an opportunity for like some sort of like tunneling to another universe or something, it would be happening by messing with stuff at the subatomic, level. I think we know pretty definitively scientifically that it would take more than a nuke to open a portal to another universe.
I would think so, yeah.
However, you hear about those weird like CERN experiments where they say things like, we're going to make contact with another universe. You go, what does that mean? And they go like, well, it's mostly math. But like,
yeah, sure.
But like theoretically, the only thing that CERN does is slam things into other things really hard. Speaking of Camelot.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, I mean, theoretically, I guess it does just boil down to like how you're messing with the fundamental building blocks of reality. Like, I think that's the connection there. It's not like if there's enough radiation, then a portal opens. I think it's more like you're messing with the building blocks. So if you accidentally punch a hole through, you might end up on the other side of that.
Sure.
I think it's more like that.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
guess.
Again, science gobbledygook.
Yeah.
But as far as the logic, the internal logic of these things goes, I suspect it's more like that and less of it like... Because when a nuke goes off, it's the explosion that kicks you to another universe. It's not like the years of horrifying radiation poisoning that follow. That go like, finally, I made it to Earth too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's very obviously more about the impact, the physical material thing that's happening than it is the radiation of it all, right?
No, that makes sense. All right, next question comes from Keegan Steedman, who asks, I know it's not always brought up, but what are some of kryptonite's other uses given its radioactive tendencies?
Sure. Well, I mean, the big one is that it's a power source. Mm-hmm. So Metallo is the best example of this. Metallo is like kryptonite powered. His kryptonite heart is the thing that like actually it works as like a battery. So, I mean, it's funny because you go like, whoa, that makes sense. We use radioactive stuff to power things all the time. Yeah. But like in the comics, though, they just take a rock and go, gah, put 2 cables in it and they go, gah.
Yeah, that's not how that works. Yeah.
When in reality, every form of electricity we have comes from something heating water or pushing water through a turbine.
Nah, it's like
to turn a magnet inside a coil.
No, it's like a potato.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, truly, I think a potato might be the only thing I can think of that you just plug shit into and it just like...
Yes.
Well, batteries, but
lemons too.
But you create power, then put the power in the batteries. Like, I don't think a battery is like, you're not shaking up chemicals to make a reaction.
No.
They're capacitors. They're holding electricity that was made somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, there's other things happening. You know what I mean? But like geothermal, you're just heating up water to make steam to turn a turbine to make electricity. A waterfall is just turning a turbine to make electricity. Nuclear power is just we're using the insane amount of energy and heat from nuclear fission to create steam to turn a turbine.
Yeah.
Like all of it boils down to that. So it is funny on some level that they just go like, like you wouldn't just put a chunk of uranium and just go, gah!
Yeah, no.
Then, like plug your computer into it.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works.
But that's how Metallo works. They
that's
just jam a rock into his chest. And they go, that's probably fine.
That's very true.
Which is sort of funny. It would be crazy to see like a steampunk version of Metallo, though, where there is like
steam,
the steam and the wheel and the making electricity
That's
thing.
Very funny. That would be awesome.
But yeah, so theoretically, kryptonite is a power source. I think they do that also in like Justice League Unlimited. Lex uses it as a power source for this like subsidized housing project that he builds, knowing that Superman will think it's a trap, and Superman destroys the project.
Oh my god.
And basically Lex is like, oh, I get why he doesn't trust me. It's like all a big setup to make people hate Superman.
Wow.
It's fucking great. It's amazing. It's a good episode. It's an episode with Captain Marvel. It's called Clash.
Hell yeah.
It's a really good one. But yeah, in both of those, kryptonite is used that way as a sort of as a power source.
That's the main sort of.
That's kind of the main other application of it, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of other uses of its radioactive potential. The when you list uses of it, it's usually that we know Superman's weak to it, so we could use it to make a scalpel if we have to do surgery on Superman.
Sure.
But we're still just leaning on it's radioactive, it makes him weak.
Yeah, but not specifically.
It's not like this is the perfect rock for scalpel making.
No.
It's not like another inherent property of it or anything like that.
I agree.
I think that's mostly it. Kryptonite has different colors of kryptonite. They've got different properties that
But that doesn't change the radiation of them.
Except that some of them, like, you could just chalk it up to like the radiation wavelength or frequency is slightly different. That's why they do different things. But then you get something like crystal kryptonite or gem kryptonite, whatever it's called, amplifies the psychic abilities of people in the Phantom Zone. You go, that's so not a radiation thing.
It's so specific to a thing that theoretically they would never have known.
Hey, I'm just passing on the information.
Yeah. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you go like, a radiation doesn't do that.
No.
But anyway.
Kryptonite. It also doesn't make you gay.
Pink kryptonite. I recently learned that pink kryptonite showed up in a cartoon.
No.
In an episode of Justice League Action. But in that one, they made it gender flip characters.
Okay, that's okay.
It's better.
Yeah.
Although...
So suddenly Superman has so many less opportunities.
Oh, what a sad episode.
Anyways, next question.
Jesus.
All right, coming from Jeff Attack, who asks, is a zeta beam radiation, or is it just a beam of energy that was altered by space radiation? We need more Adam Strange.
Yeah, I mean, technically, any beam or wavelength is a radiation. But even that pedantic kind of shit aside, there is an element of zeta radiation. So the zeta beam, which is that like interstellar transportation beam that Sardath on Rand creates, and it hits Adam Strange and it takes him to Rand or whatever. They use that to do all sorts of like interstellar, intergalactic travel.
Planetary
Versions of the Zeta beam have been used for teleporting on Earth and to the Watchtower and shit like that. Like it's a teleportation beam. That's what it does. But there is an aspect of radiation to it, at least for Adam Strange, which is that when he gets hit with the Zeta beam, the Zeta radiation stays with his body for a while. And when it wears off, he rematerializes on Earth.
Oh.
It sends him back. And then he has to, like, he has a timer and he knows when the next beam's going to hit Earth and where. And then he gets there, gets hit with it. Gets transported to Rand, and then he goes, great, I have, 3 weeks or whatever it is. But when that radiation wears off.
It's been 3 weeks since I hit the beam.
All of his atoms are ripped across the galaxy back to Earth.
God, that would be so jarring.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing it happens all at once.
I mean, truly, yeah.
And you don't just see people like,
yeah, like, honestly.
Is that like a Rick and Morty thing or whatever? Where
Maybe.
The one time they transport it, you see the bones. And
oh, yeah.
Why would you make it hurt?
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, there is an element of what we kind of colloquially think of as radiation to it as well, which is that thing that's just like, you've absorbed it. It's kind of in your body's processing it and working through it and things like that. That technically exists, but only for Adam Strange because he's the only one that has that that issue with it.
Sure.
Because the beam got fucked up on the way to Earth when it hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it didn't make a clone of him that...
Yeah, there's not like a Thomas Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great Raker.
Man. And then it happened to Boimler.
Yeah, that's right.
Boimler got Thomas Reichert.
Forgot about that. Yeah, and then he ends up working on...
And then that Boimler goes to the Titan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the other one didn't like it. Yeah. Anyways,
I fucking love Lower Decks so much.
Great show.
It's all in jokes. It must be impenetrable if you don't already like Star Trek. But as someone that loves Star Trek, I fucking love Lower Decks.
It's absolutely so good. I actually think that I was listening to a podcast or something the other day. Someone was referencing Lower Decks, and I was like, oh man, this show likes Lower Decks. And then I realized they're talking about like a reality show that's like about like an actual cruise ship.
Oh, like those ones where like people like rent yachts and it's like the crew running the
yeah. And I was like, oh, fucking how dare they?
That's too bad. That sucks.
Yeah. From Liam K. Willis, who asks, would Chlorophyll Kid be able to change the color and thus the radioactive effects of kryptonite?
So Chlorophyll Kid wouldn't. Chlorophyll Kid is a Legionnaire who has like plant powers.
Sure.
But I think what they're trying to say is, could Color Kid do it? Color Kid was rejected from the Legion, was part of the Legion of Substitute Heroes, and his power is that he could change the color of anything.
Yeah.
End of power.
And that works because...
Well, it's... What are the mechanics of Color Kid's powers?
Yeah.
He's not shooting pigment at things.
No.
He's not coating them in color. Easy. Easy.
Coat Wonder Woman in white.
Unless it's Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
He's not doing that. So if he's just changing the color of a thing, he's changing something fundamental about the way it absorbs and reflects light radiation.
So if you made it a different color kryptonite, theoretically, it's making it...
No.
Okay.
I think he could change the color of the kryptonite and it wouldn't 100% change its properties.
Because it would... No?
It would change the way you saw it.
But not the ways
it
it put out?
Maybe a little bit about how it takes in and interacts with other radiation.
Oh God! Don't give them more ideas for kryptonite.
But I don't think it would change what the inherent chemical decay of that rock is doing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think there's something slightly different going on. Like, I'm also not a scientist. I might be totally wrong about how this works, but to me, there's like the two kinds of radiation. There's a thing that is technically radiation, which is like a wave form of energy. And then there's the chemical component of radiation, which is like spewing off fucking neutrons and electrons and shit, right? And to me, the radiation of kryptonite is the spewing off subatomic particles thing, not the what kind of light does it give off.
I'm feeling radioactive. I think I'm gonna spew.
Sometimes kryptonite is depicted as glowing. There is a light component to it.
Yeah.
But it's not always. Not all kryptonites are depicted that way.
Hashtag not all kryptonites.
Hashtag not all kryptonites. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
So to me, no. I don't think Color Kid could make green kryptonite into red kryptonite and then have it have red kryptonite's powers.
Sure. Okay.
Someone like Firestorm could. Because Firestorm has the ability of transmutation.
Sure.
He could chemically change the whole thing to the other form.
Crazy.
So he could do that. Color Kid couldn't. I'm not sure if there's another time to bring this up, but since we're talking about the Legion, I do want to bring up maybe my favorite radioactive character. It's a character named Radiation Roy.
Yeah, I don't think anybody asks about Radiation Roy.
So Radiation Roy tried out for the Legion of Superheroes, and he was like, I have the ability to like just like give off radiation. And they were like, how's
that a hero?
You can't control your powers, and that's like such a danger to us. And he goes, well, I'll show you. And he joins the Legion of Supervillains.
Jesus.
Here's the thing with Radiation Roy. It was a good thing he didn't make it into the Legion. He was twisted. Twisted. You learn later that like Saturn Girl saw these twisted thoughts in his mind that like haunted her and all this kind of shit.
Jeez. But
also, here's a fun fact about Radiation Roy. He's not immune to radiation. So he like gets like sick And like he gets radiation poisoning the more he lives and uses his power. He gets like boils and all these kind of stuff.
Oh my god.
To the point where eventually you only ever see him in this big kind of like torpedo shaped like containment suit.
But also, isn't that just radiated person though? Like
he's no. Sorry. Because he can control, like he can decide to give off more radiation.
Okay.
He's not just like, I'm radioactive. Can I join the Legion?
It's like, no, you're just sick.
Yeah, you're just sick. Yeah. But we are going to interview this. What do we have here? Chemo? Yeah, no. But Radiation Roy is like, is not immune to radiation. So the more he uses that power, the sicker he gets.
Jesus Christ.
It's so fucked up. But it's such a, I love him. Mwah.
Insane.
Just a psychotic Legion of supervillains
character. You love a Legion character.
I do. I love a wild Legion character.
Next question from Blake Von Sextron, who asks, is Negative Man the most interesting of these characters? The life they have lived is so insane, silly, tragic. I can't get enough of their story.
I mean, you've watched most of Doom Patrol. What do you think of Negative Man?
I mean, it partly is just made better because of who's playing
Matt Bomer.
Yeah. I think Matt Bomer does such a great job.
Yeah.
I don't think that they make him that interesting of a character beyond the performance of him.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the Negative Man thing is interesting.
Because they play it more of like a tragic, like personal story than the actual like abilities of Negative Man in the show.
Totally. And that's also true in the comics,
okay.
I would say. I mean, the big ability for Negative Man is that the negative spirit can go and leave his body and do stuff and then return to it. So he has this kind of like distance power or something that can go through walls or something like that. But very little of that.
He's also not that in control of it.
No, he's not. Here's what I'll say about Negative Man. That the radioactive of Negative Man is so tragic, and having to wear those bandages and things like that. At one point, Larry Traynor, the Negative Man, Valentina Vostok, the Negative Woman. Oh, I might have this slightly wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was the two of them got merged into one body. Called Rebus. With the negative spirit. Yep. So like 3 beings in one body.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Kate Godwin, the transgender character from Rachel Pollack's run of Doom Patrol, has a sexual experience with Rebus. And the radiation from that event gives her superpowers and turns her into Coagula.
Whoa, that's how Coagula comes. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, more ways than one. But that's like Coagula's origin is getting like radiation poisoning from having sex with Rebus.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild. But there's something so sad about, I mean, this is the great thing with the Doom Patrol, right? Is examining that other side of it, right? Which is like, you have this amazing power, but it's like, I'm constantly in these bandages. I kind of have to keep away from people. I really shouldn't be in contact. Like, all that stuff's so tragic or whatever. The other thing with Negative Man, I don't know if it was always the case, but it was at least briefly the case, is every time the negative spirit leaves his body, he lives a full lifetime in his mind.
Oh my God.
Like Inner Light style.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's wild. And it's kind of a fate worse than death.
In
a way, it's nice to have different experiences, but it's like,
I mean, for you, yeah.
How could you possibly keep your sanity after living like dozens of lifetimes?
Yeah, and then coming back and being like, oh, fuck. Oh, yeah.
I'm still just here.
I'm this too. I always forget that I'm this too.
Yeah, I hate that. And it just, all of these just ultimately prove that I'm right.
That life is meaningless and you shouldn't continue it?
Well, just that there's no point like clinging onto it. You don't have to like exit early, but
yeah,
you don't have to fight too hard.
This is what that motivational speech you gave me in the hospital.
Yeah. Don't exit early, but also don't fight too hard.
Yeah. Go with God.
I mean, it's not a thing I wouldn't say.
I mean, it's true, yeah. Anyways. Next question.
Do you want me to give you eulogy?
I don't even think I want you to give a best man speech. They're probably going to be the same.
Yeah. You think I'm going to write more than one speech?
All I know is you're going to do it right as you get up there.
Yeah. I did that the last time I was a best man. It was a great speech.
That's how you do comedy, so I'm not surprised.
And I'm good at it.
Anyways, Nick DeRusher?
I mean, it could be like De Rocher.
It's UYSH, though. It's like
UYSH.
SCSCHER.
Oh, that's almost like Dutch.
So,
like De
Rocher?
De Roysker.
Hey, I don't know. That person.
Radio.
Stop.
Radio. Listen to Ghostface.
Yep.
Joke from a different podcast.
Everything's a crossover. Do the Atom, Al Pratt, or Damage actually have an atomic punch? I feel like there's a bit of a misinformation about it.
So the original Atom, the Golden Age Atom, Al Pratt, didn't have superpowers initially.
Oh,
he was just a small, strong man.
That's very funny.
He was like a 5 foot tall, strong man.
That's very funny.
Or something like that. And
what a terrible character.
Insane costume, too.
Yeah, of course.
Like, just like a yellow, like, strongman onesie with a blue cape and
what
a mask.
Awful.
And such a, like, what did you say about me being short? Like, he has such, like, a fucking...
To, like, what end?
Inferiority complex.
All right.
Al Pratt didn't have powers. He eventually did get some form of super strength. But he didn't... He was called the Atom because he was small but mighty.
Sure.
Not because he had any kind of atomic ability.
Sure,
Damage, Grant Emerson, who is technically Al Pratt's son, did have atomic powers because he was signed up for some experiment or something. Like a Vandal Savage had some experiment or whatever, and Grant got powers through it. And he ends up with these... It's sort of like it was kind of like a nuclear energy power, but it was like the more physical activity he was involved in or the more damage he took, the bigger his power was, and he could release it as a kind of like a big punch or a big like he kind of had sort of like a kinetic energy thing, but it also had this kind of nuclear kind of side to it, atomic side to it. So he did have powers. Now, in the New 52, when the Earth 2 book came out, and we got like these young versions of the Earth 2 characters, but it was also in like a modern setting.
Yeah. And
this is the way it is still in continuity, is that there's like the old Golden Age characters, the ones we remember, Alan Scott, blah, 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 the old guys, they exist in the main continuity as part of history. They were the first heroes. Some of them are still around. On Earth 2, there's like, it's the same year as now, but those heroes are younger and they just broke out at the same time as like the Leaguers did. Oh. So you've got characters that are like Superman and Batman aged, but they're Jay Garrick and Alan Scott.
Sure.
On that Earth, that Al Pratt had an atomic punch.
Oh,
he had an actual power of like an extra sort of atomic energy kind of thing that he could do. He also had size changing ability like Atom Smasher.
He was a grower, not a shower.
Totally. So there's some, I could see where there'd be some confusion. And then of course, Atom Smasher has size manipulation abilities. But generally the original, the Golden Age Atom, no powers at all. He was just called the Atom because he was small.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit,
where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
And the first question comes from You Shall Not Pass.
Hell yeah.
Constipated Gandalf.
Nice.
Who asks, what is the difference?
Full of a poop.
Thank you. That's good. What is the difference between Dr. Phosphorus and Blight from Batman Beyond? Are they more or less the same character?
I mean, visually, they're very similar. They're both characters that are like, they have the glowing silhouette of a person, but you only see like dark skeleton bones. Like they look like an X-ray.
Oh, sure.
visually, there's that. Blight is a glowing green kind of thing. That's Derek Powers, who's like a businessman who gets infected with his own nerve gas and then needs a radiation treatment to not die, but the radiation turns him into this like walking glowing skeleton man. Dr. Phosphorus, his radiation thing feels more like a burning thing, and he's often depicted, same way, like I said, but more like an orange color, and sometimes with like flicks of flame, like it's more of like a nuclear fire or radiation kind of fire,
more like firestorm.
Not quite as like explicitly fire, but closer to that than to like glowing green uranium rod or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't. I mean, they're very different characters. One's like a businessman. One was like a scientist. One is, in the future. What is that? Like they're not the same. They visually look very similar, and functionally, I think their powers are about the same. Blight might have been able to like shoot blasts and stuff. Dr. Phosphorus could do a little bit of that. Dr. Phosphorus at one point got his powers augmented by Neron. That is one character where, like when Captain Atom fights someone, there's energy blasts and stuff like that, and you take out the bad guy and they go away for a bit, and you go, that's the end of that. And you go, did you just radiation poison them? You go, probably not. And you sort of move on. But Dr. Phosphorus is a character that did
give people radiation.
Like he could. And he did to Ted Knight, the original Starman. Dr. Phosphorus shows up a couple of times in that and ultimately gives Ted Knight cancer and kills like the cancer that would kill him if Ted Knight didn't die saving the day beforehand. So it's kind of he's sort of interesting that way. They're relatively different, but like visually, they've got the exact same aesthetic, though.
Totally.
A sort of X-ray looking kind of.
I love that
kind of person. A great look. Dr. Phosphorus as a character is going to show up in that Creature Commandos animated series.
Oh, really?
That's going to be part of James Gunn's new DCU.
So stoked for that.
Dr. Phosphorus will be in there, so there'll be a DCU version of that character.
That'll be great.
Yeah, which is pretty neat.
Next question from Just Takes One Bad Day 725. Are the Signal's powers radioactive?
So the Signal is Duke Thomas. He's the daytime protector of Gotham City. And in addition to being trained by Batman and being a great martial artist and stuff like that, he has some both light and shadow abilities. So, and some of them are like, they describe them as like, he has some sort of like luminescent memory. He can like sort of detective mode see where light energy has been.
Okay.
And kind of follow it and stuff like that. I suppose an aspect of that is at least some version of radiation sensing or absorbing or whatever. Emitting light is by definition a radiation power, but again, it's not. It's just emitting light, and light is technically radiation. It's not like oh my god, get out of the room, or like put on this heavy lead shield.
Sure.
Or like, it's not that kind of thing. The interesting thing with him though is that he also has the opposite power too. He has like these unlocked like shadow powers. Not just that he has light powers and then could also absorb light, but he could also control some. He has some like Umbra kinetic ability. He's got both, which is sort of interesting. So, I mean, it's sort of on a technicality. I would say Duke Thomas, on a technicality, a radiation character, but he's a light character, he's not like Dr. Phosphorus. He's not like...
It's not an energy thing.
He's not like Firestorm. He's not like one of these people who's like, we're messing with like nuclear forces. It's not that. He's just emitting light.
Sure.
So it's only radiation in the textbook sense, not in the like functionally the way we use the word or describe that idea or whatever. Not like that.
But I hear you. Next question from Not I, Noobmaster69, who asks, Firestorm is probably the most underused DC character, more so than Martian Manhunter. But are his abilities purely radioactive? Or was he just created through a radiation accident? I also don't really believe that he's the underused character. He had like a couple series, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a while. If you're a Firestorm fan, it probably feels like a pretty big drought.
But he did get a lot, considering for a character.
Overall, he's probably but Martian Manhunter more consistently shows up in Justice League and stuff too.
Sure, yeah.
Overall, actually hard to say, but yeah, I mean the Firestorm thing kind of comes back to that Kingdom Come question, right? Which is like, is it the radiation that gave him his powers, or is it the nuclear event?
Yeah.
Like, he's literally a fused being, like nuclear fusion.
Yeah.
Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein are fused into Firestorm via the Firestorm Matrix, which is that's more about materially the nuclear ability. His primary power is transmutation, which is fusing or unfusing elements at a subatomic level to remake inorganic things. He can turn salt into chocolate. He can turn gold into air. That's what Firestorm could do. That's all. We're talking about material things. And when he does that, there aren't nuclear explosions going off because he's ripping atoms apart.
Sure.
He could just transmute elements. It's alchemy. He could just do it. And it comes from the Firestorm Matrix. It's not the radiation. I'm positive there are stories of firestorms that deal with radiation, especially in that era when you had like Pojar and like the Russian firestorm and all these kind of like, there's no way we weren't talking about it. Or they probably talk about like, we could track his radiation signature. Like, the word radiation gets thrown around with Firestorm all the goddamn time. But his power is like, I mean, again, I'm making distinctions where there aren't any. It's that very material kind of thing. Standing next to Firestorm doesn't give you cancer. Is kind of where I'm going with this.
Sure.
You know, like, his powers aren't about the radiation. His powers are about atoms.
Sure.
Right? Dr. Phosphorus is like radioactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a distinction.
Or Radiation Roy is radioactive.
Yeah.
You know, even someone like Metallo is technically radioactive. He just only affects Kryptonians, but his presence is enough once that thing is exposed, right?
Yeah.
Firestorm's different, and the Firestorm Matrix is a sort of Speed Force level, like right away all the inconvenience things, sort of device. But that's a big part of it. He's not just like a walking lawsuit.
Sure.
Know? However, to go back to other questions, his powers he could use radiation. He could make kryptonite. That kryptonite that he made might be radioactive, but it's not that he's like, I'll put radiation in here.
Sure.
It's that he's chemically changing the molecules into kryptonite, and then they do what they do.
Sure.
And the atoms expel their electrons or whatever is happening, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where radiation fits in for Firestorm, at least broadly. But I mean, listen, it's a character called the Nuclear Man. He's been around since the 70s. There's a heavy Cold War component, especially in the Pojar stuff. Like, there's going to be radiation talk somewhere in the Firestorm things, right?
Sure.
But
all right. Next question, which means we're leaving Reddit and heading over to the Doc Scored.
Yep,
a thing you're ready for, as always. We're doing it for like years.
Hang on. If I were a Doc Scored.
Oh no. Someone's been directing Fiddler on the Roof.
Then all day scored. I Doctor scored. If I were a Doc scored. I never have to scored hard. Doc scored.
I love that you don't actually know the words to a thing that you're directing.
Most of the words are bibba-dibba-bum.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was right. Yes.
Oh.
If I were a rich man.
Oh, okay. It just sounds like
all
you're...
day long I'd bum. If I were a wealthy man.
Where's Gwen Stefani come in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the Tefka is bananas. BANANAS.
Just as long as it's kosher.
Yeah. To life, like I am, no doubt. Gwen Stefani.
That's good. I like that.
hell
That's
yeah.
no, that's fucking. That's,
yeah.
You're good at this.
Yeah.
First question.
Tevye, tell us a story. Don't speak.
I know just what you're thinking.
Did we just make the best fusion musical ever? The world's first fusion musical?
We're kind of like the firestorm of musicals.
Yeah. Prolific yet forgotten.
And underused. The moral compass of the Doc Squad asks, the Atomic Age, the 1960s, spawned many Marvel characters associated with radioactivity. Example, Daredevil, the Hulk. Was DC influenced by the nuclear scene around that same time? If so, how?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, not that I can name a bunch, but I feel like Marvel leaned heavier on
Current event, like
the
reactions?
radioactive thing, like Spider-Man, radioactive spider, Hulk, gamma
sure.
rays, Daredevil is like some sort of radioactive toxic waste. Like, I feel like there was a lot of that over there. DC has some, but I also think it manifested different at DC. Where I see it at DC is the Silver Age embraced sci-fi, the futurism kind of thing of it, where you took a character like Green Lantern who had more of kind of like a life energy power, and you were like, we'll make him a space cop.
Sure.
You took the Flash, who's like, he inhaled water vapor. He runs fast. And then it was like, he was struck by lightning, and now he's the fastest man alive. And then that, like, his whole thing was like, I'll vibrate my molecules. And that Flash was a scientist. Barry Allen was a scientist. You'd like learn things as
it's
you
more
read.
about like the like influx of like science and popular culture that affected DC.
Batman became a little less of a pulpy detective and a little bit more of like a gadgets, cars. But like, I feel like that's how the space age and that sort of thing like manifested over at DC, whereas in Marvel it's like the X-Men, they were like the children of the atom and stuff, like all of that kind of stuff, right? Like, for some reason Marvel leaned more on like the accidental radiation thing, and DC was more about like the promise of science.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't really looked at it like that, but yeah,
I don't think that was necessarily intentional. No, at least not from what I know. Maybe there's like a memo somewhere that was like,
science, it's the future.
You know what I mean? But even the Atom, right? The original Atom was just a scrappy guy. The new Atom, he's the power of a dwarf star, and he could shrink.
The dwarf, we don't like saying that.
Yeah, well, that first Atom wouldn't.
That's like what I mean. Yeah.
Like the Hawkman and Hawkgirl went from having like past lives to being space cops. There's the sci-fi ification of DC, especially in the context of those characters that got Silver Age versions. That's where you really see, I think, the influence of that era. It's a lot less about like a horrifying accident, but the Marvel model was also kind of like it was made in contrast to DC.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the quickest way to do that was like the terrible accident.
But also, the Marvel's whole thing is, like you overcome a thing that happened, and then you have abilities. And the thing that they knew had untold energy and reaction they couldn't understand was radioactivity, right? So
yeah, I don't know what it was, or maybe it's that Stan Lee had one idea.
I mean,
and it was radiation. Like,
I
don't know. You know, like it could be anything, but it's almost certainly not 100%, but it does seem like a slightly weird dividing line between the two.
It is interesting to think about it from that perspective.
But that's my perception of it, at least. Just off the cuff, the characters I can think of, that's the way I would think. Even like new characters introduced in the Silver Age were just like, they were more aliens. They were like Martian Manhunter, or you know, you just got more of that kind of stuff than you got like some sort of like horrific thing from the you know, even Aquaman, Golden Age Aquaman was just like his dad just kept putting him in the water until he could breathe underwater. Like Golden Age Aquaman has like a super fucked up origin. Like technically his legal name is Aquaman.
Oh my god.
There's all sorts of weird fucked up shit about Golden Age Aquaman, who is now, again, for the first time possibly ever, a separate character.
Really?
But then Arthur Curry, it's more about like, we're stretching science fiction here, but it's like, oh, there's ancient Atlantis, and there's like, he's genetically half Atlantean.
Sure.
Like, we're playing just with the idea of science things, even just in the sense of like, he is half thing, as opposed to like, he didn't like walk past the like water radiation plant and go, oh, I could breathe it. Like,
Aquafina's experimental water treatment plant. Yeah,
I don't know why she's involved, but but yeah, you know what I mean. That's my feeling about it, but I'm almost certainly missing something glaring. But.
Sure, Alex will answer. All right,
yeah, Jaffe, bail me out.
Last
or
question.
Write a cool ass article based on my thesis.
Fuck yeah,
hell yeah.
Last question. J.K. asks, in 1995, Warren Ellis wrote a 2-issue miniseries called Ruins, a parody of Busiek/Ross's Marvels, about a world where the Marvel Universe's radiation-powered heroes got powers but suffered through horrific side effects and died early on.
Oh yeah, the Fantastic Four also have radiation-based powers.
Yeah, weird. What do you think the DC Universe version of this would be like?
Well, again, it's tough because the radiation thing also lends itself to a very specific kind of adverse side effect. The DC one is slightly different because if you think of like the premise of the metagene in DC as we understand it now is that people have this metagene and sometimes it's active and sometimes it's dormant and sometimes it's made active by a traumatic event.
Sure.
And basically what the metagene does is like takes that trauma and quickly adapts your body to it to save you. Right? So if you're about to get electrocuted and your metagene activates, that will protect you from that electricity by sort of imbuing you with electricity ability, right? But in the case of The Flash or Livewire or, you know, like just pick like a lightning character, if there isn't a slow, I shouldn't say there isn't. Someone could be creative enough to come up with it, but I don't feel like there's like a slow side effect there is with radiation poisoning. It would just be like, no, you got struck by lightning and died.
Sure.
Like, it's not much of a book.
Yeah. That's very funny.
I kind of, you know what I mean? I don't know what another good example of this would be, but like, you know, the Atom, like, you could be creative and figure it out, but like maybe for the Atom, it would be like every time he shrinks, he's actually losing some of his mass. Like he's actually shedding some of his atomic mass, and eventually there just won't be enough of him left to grow back or something.
Oh,
you would do something like that, like, but it has to be more like the horrifying sci-fi thing, like The Fly. Like you kind of have to turn it on, like, the horrors of sci-fi as opposed to like a kind of, I mean, it's the horrors of sci-fi in the Ruins one too, but do you know what I mean? It's, I think there's something more like that one. It just feels like sad and slow and pondery and things like that. And I feel like the DC one maybe would be slightly more horrific in that kind of scary sci-fi way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I've got a great actual pitch for that. Do you have anything? Is there a sort of like angle you got on that?
Yeah, Batman just like has mental health issues and kills himself. Yeah, like,
yeah, I mean, we're not that far from that.
But yeah, I mean, it's, I think, yeah, like Martian Manhunter just shows up on Earth, can't breathe the atmosphere and dies.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. They'll feel quick.
Yeah.
Adam Strange goes to Ran.
Yeah.
His atoms reassembled wrong.
Yeah.
It does feel like, or he brings back some sort of horrific Rannian disease to Earth.
This is what I mean. Like, yeah, it's
possible to write those stories, but they do feel faster.
Yes.
Than what
I guess, like with the Flash, it could be something where he's just like constantly producing electricity, and that's like fucking up everything around him and like hurting people.
Yeah,
and, like,
sure, right.
It's like he's fast, but he's also like fucking like constantly producing like electricity.
Yeah.
Like that could be something there. I think.
Maybe.
But it's true that there's also very rarely characters who are like have a thing like magically happen to them and now they have the problem.
Here's a radiation character that I mentioned offhand, but not in this context, that we haven't talked about. Vandal Savage.
Oh, sure.
Vandal Savage is a caveman, Vandar Adge,
there's another time travel radiation
who
thing.
had there's a meteorite, a radioactive thing crashed, and he slept like near it, and that radiation made him super intelligent, like heightened his evolution, and made him immortal.
Crazy.
He can't die. And the other person that did that to is the Immortal Man, who carries a pendant of that thing around.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the Immortal Man and Vandal Savage are sort of locked in this eternal kind of thing.
Except for that the Immortal Man could just take off his necklace.
Well, the Immortal Man is different because the Immortal Man dies and then reincarnates.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. And then Resurrection Man is different yet again because he dies and then Tektites put him back together and give him a power based on the last way he died.
Sure.
But Vandal Savage is technically like a radiation character in the sense that radiation gave him all of his abilities, his immortality and things like that.
Yeah. So there's a person that could get sick or something.
But like great, now he's sick in caveman times and we just like forget it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't, someone more creative than me could find a way to do it, but I do think that there is something more maybe dramatic, I guess, or not even dramatic, but more. It's hard to imagine how you would stitch them all together. I could see some of these as one-off things
because there's not a single
Flash one
thing.
is like a one-off thing or whatever. It's not a single thing where they're all unified by radiation or something like that, where you can put them all in the same. I also haven't read Ruins, which
sounds good.
Yeah, I'd be interested in, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's a tough one.
Yeah, no, it's a challenging one. All right, well, that was the last question. If you have a question for next week's episode,
next week we're gonna catch up on the missing week. The Golden Age patrons voted for something like a preloaded episode we have in the mailbag from when we have like sort of spillover of questions. Yeah. So they voted on a few different themes. So we're gonna be talking about the Lanterns of Earth next week. Nice. So Earth-based lanterns. That's next week.
Hey, there we go. And if you want to ask those questions, you can do so through our various...
no, that's already kind of pre-done. We don't really want to. No, fine. Ask your questions.
Do so through our various social media platforms.
Dr. DC Podcast on the platforms.
Yeah. Also, you can give us a phone call at 208-917-DCEU. It's 208-917-3238.
Or DCEU if you're nasty. Oh my God.
Or go to drdcpodcast.com or .ca. Give us a 5-star review and we'll read it on a future episode of the show. But more importantly, give us money and subscribe and you get some shit.
Yeah, baby. We're extending Personal Confessions Month. Yeah. So that's what's happening on the double. That's at the $5 level. At the $7 level, we're wrapping up bonding time. There's just one more wrap-up episode.
No more bondage for... the Vanier family.
One more episode of Bonding Time coming. And then in a couple of months, start up the next Golden Age rewatch series, which is Cerebros. That's me and Chicken Maddie watching all of the X-Men movies. So that's coming down the line. That's at the $7 level. All the levels give you access to the Discord, our awesome fan community.
And even more content and stuff that might be in your realm of interest is our other podcast, Ghostfacers.
That's right, a Supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We're almost done season 8 of 15. Crazy. We talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. It's a grand old time.
And you will enjoy it. That's it for this week.
Nice.
Ciao, ciao.
Biddy biddy bum.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.